Airframe prepware, communications, light signals, and runway lighting systems. In general, the purpose of an aircraft transponder is to receive an interrogation signal from a ground station and automatically send a reply back. A fully integrated autopilot controls the aircraft around how many axes? 3. In the landing configuration, GPWS typically monitors the radio, radar, altimeter, air data computer, instrument landing system, and landing gear and flap positions. Refer to Figure 16. Which of the antennas shown is a typical glidescope antenna? Two. On modern large aircraft, what electronic device typically monitors flight parameters and performs autopilot functions? Flight management computer. Which control element of an autopilot system is an attitude indicator? Sensing. What will occur if an aircraft attitude is changed by its autopilot system in order to correct for an error and the involved control surfaces are returned to streamline by the time the aircraft has reached its correct position? Normal operation. VHF radio signals are commonly used in both VOR navigation and ATC communications. What component is the sensing device in an electromagnetic autopilot system? Gyro. Refer to Figure 16. Which of the antennas shown is a typical DME antenna? 1. How much clearance for the seat bottom is required when installing radio equipment under a seat? 1 inch with the seat occupied and subjected to maximum downward seat spring deflection. Which of the following is a two-way text communication link between an airliner in flight and the airline's main ground facilities? Aircraft Communication Addressing and Reporting System, ACARS. When an antenna is installed, it should be fastened so that loads imposed are transmitted to the aircraft structure. Refer to Figure 23. What is this antenna used for? This is an altitude encoder used with transponders. Refer to Figure 33. What kind of antenna is this? A VOR/glidescope antenna. A DME antenna should be installed on the aircraft in a position that will not be blanked out by the wing when the aircraft is banked. What is the primary purpose of an autopilot? To relieve the pilot of control of the aircraft during long periods of flight. The preferred location of an ELT is as far aft as possible but forward of the empennage. Refer to Figure 22. What kind of antenna is this? This is a loop and sense antenna. What component of an autopilot system applies torque to the control surfaces of an aircraft? Servo. One antenna can be used for the radio range and standard broadcast bands in light aircraft because the two ranges are close together. Which of the following provides manual maneuverability of the aircraft while the autopilot is engaged? Flight controller. Radio equipment is bonded to the aircraft in order to provide a low impedance ground and minimize radio interference from static electrical charges. How may the operation of an installed emergency locator transmitter, ELT, be verified during aircraft inspection? By tuning a communications receiver to the civil emergency frequency and activating the ELT momentarily within 5 minutes after the hour. A radar altimeter determines altitude by transmitting a signal and receiving back a reflected signal. What characteristic of the installation of a rigid antenna on a vertical stabilizer should be evaluated? Flutter and vibration. When testing a 406 MHz emergency locator transmitter, ELT, care must be taken as the unit could send an emergency signal activating search and rescue (SAR) agencies. The preferred location of a VOR antenna on light aircraft is on top of the cabin with the apex of the V pointing forward. When would a U.S. resident not be required to hold a Federal Communications Commission (FCC) restricted radio telephone operator permit to operate two-way aircraft VHF radio equipment? When flying or communicating within the United States. When flags such as navigation, heading, or glide scope are displayed on the HSI, the indication is that function is inoperative. The purpose of a glide scope system is to assist the pilot in making a correct angle of descent to the runway. Static dischargers help eliminate radio interference by dissipating static electricity into the atmosphere at low current levels. A radar altimeter indicates altitude above ground level. How may the battery replacement date be verified for an emergency locator transmitter, ELT? By observing the battery replacement date marked on the outside of the transmitter. Refer to Figure 24. What kind of antenna is this? A dipole antenna. Part of the ADF system used on aircraft includes sense and loop antennas. When installing coaxial cable, it should be secured firmly along its entire length at 2-foot intervals. What is the operating principle of the sensing device used in an autopilot system? The relative motion between a gyro and its supporting system. The purpose of a localizer is to align the airplane with the center of the runway, refer to Figure 15. What is the approximate drag load on an antenna with a frontal area of 0.137 square feet installed on an aircraft with a speed of 275 miles per hour? £3.387 pounds. Doublers are used when antennas are installed to reinstate the structural strength of the aircraft skin. Aircraft antenna must be grounded to the airframe. Refer to Figure 26. Where is the strongest signal for this antenna? Above the antenna. The addition of avionics and associated antenna systems forward of the CG limit will affect empty weight and useful load. Refer to Figure 30. What kind of antenna is this? A lightning detector system antenna. When must the radio station license be displayed on an aircraft equipped with a two-way radio? When the aircraft is operated outside the United States. Refer to Figure 32. What kind of antenna is this? A radar beacon transponder antenna. Refer to Figure 31. What kind of antenna is this? A marker beacon receiver antenna. Refer to Figure 34. What kind of antenna is this? A VOR/glide scope antenna. Refer to Figure 27. What kind of antenna is this? A radar beacon transponder antenna. An emergency locator transmitter, ELT, is normally activated by an inertial switch or equivalent mechanism if subjected to a force of a prescribed intensity and duration. It must activate when the force is applied parallel to the longitudinal axis of the aircraft. Refer to Figure 29. What kind of antenna is this? A VOR and localizer antenna. Refer to Figure 25. What kind of antenna is this? A canted antenna. An emergency locator transmitter, ELT, battery must be capable of furnishing power for a signal transmission for at least 48 hours. Refer to Figure 15. What is the approximate drag load of an antenna with a frontal area of 0.125 square feet installed on an aircraft with a speed of 225 miles per hour? £2.069 pounds. Which channel of an autopilot detects changes in pitch attitude of the aircraft? Elevator. In an autopilot, which signal nullifies the input signal to the ailerons? Follow-up signal. When testing an emergency locator transmitter, ELT, a 50-ohm dummy load is connected in place of the antenna to prevent the signal from being radiated into space. The elevator channel of an autopilot controls the aircraft about which axis of rotation? Lateral. Installed radio equipment is protected from damage due to jolts and vibrations by shock mounts. When installing a DME antenna, it should be aligned with the centerline of the airplane. Refer to Figure 28. What kind of antenna is this? An ELT antenna. A gasket or sealant is used between the antenna mast and fuselage skin to prevent the entry of moisture. After an automatic direction-finding antenna has been installed, the loop must be calibrated. What is the main purpose of a servo in an autopilot system? Move the control surface as commanded. When bending coaxial cable, the bend radius should be at least 10 times the diameter of the cable. How should a coaxial cable be routed? As directly as possible. When must the emergency locator transmitter, ELT, battery be replaced, other than reading the replacement date? When the transmitter has been in use for more than 1 cumulative hour. When operationally checking an autopilot system on the ground, after the aircraft's main power has been switched on, the autopilot should be engaged only after the gyros come up to speed and the amplifier warms up.